Have you ever walked along a rocky shoreline and peered into those little puddles left behind by the tide? They might seem like just pockets of seawater, but there's so much more. These are rock pools, and each one is a miniature, self-contained universe. A bustling metropolis of marine life teeming with drama, survival, and incredible secrets. Today we're going on an adventure to uncover the hidden world of these fascinating ecosystems. Let's dive in. At first glance, a rock pool looks simple. Water, rocks, maybe some seaweed. But look closer. The conditions here are extreme. When the tide is in, it's a stable marine environment. But when the tide goes out, everything changes. The sun beats down, heating the water. Rain can fall, diluting the saltiness. Oxygen levels can drop. And then there's the constant threat of predators from both the land and the sea. Life in a rock pool is not for the faint of heart. It takes a special kind of creature to survive and thrive in such a volatile world. So who are the residents of this tiny, tough neighborhood? Let's start with the producers, the foundation of the food web. You'll see all sorts of algae, from the thin green films coating the rocks to the larger seaweeds like kelp and bladderwrack. These aren't just plants. They're powerhouses, using sunlight to create energy through photosynthesis. They provide food and, just as importantly, shelter. The dense fronds of seaweed act as a protective canopy, shielding the pool's inhabitants from the harsh sun and hiding them from hungry birds. Now for the grazers, the herbivores of the rock pool. Look for the slow-moving but relentless periwinkles and limpets. These snails are like tiny lawnmowers, scraping algae off the rocks with a specialized ribbon-like tongue called a radula. Limpets are particularly amazing. They have a home scar, a specific spot on a rock that their shell has worn to fit perfectly. They venture out to feed when the tide is in, but always return to their exact spot, clamping down tightly to conserve water and protect themselves from being dislodged by waves or predators. Of course, where there are grazers, there are hunters. Rock pools are a battleground for some of the ocean's most cunning predators. You might spot a common shore crab scuttling sideways, its powerful claws ready to snatch a small snail or a careless fish. These crabs are the armored tanks of the pool. Opportunistic feeders that will eat almost anything they can get their pincers on. They're incredibly territorial and will fiercely defend their chosen crevice. And then there are the masters of camouflage. The prawn or shrimp is almost transparent, blending in perfectly with the water and sand. They dart around scavenging for tiny bits of food, almost invisible until they move. But perhaps the most beautiful and deadly predator is the sea anemone. It looks like a delicate flower with its vibrant, waving tentacles. But don't be fooled. Each tentacle is armed with thousands of tiny stinging cells called nematocysts. When a small fish or shrimp brushes against them, these cells fire like microscopic harpoons, injecting a paralyzing toxin. The anemone then slowly draws its helpless prey into its central mouth. It's a brutal, yet beautiful spectacle of nature. Let's not forget the visitors. When the tide comes in, the rock pool connects back to the vast ocean, and new characters arrive. Small fish like blennies and gobies might swim in, seeking refuge from larger predators in the open water. These fish are brilliantly adapted. The shani or common blenny has fins that act like little legs, allowing it to walk along the bottom of the pool. It can even survive out of water for short periods, breathing through its skin, which is a huge advantage when the tide goes out unexpectedly. The ecosystem is a delicate dance of interactions. The seaweed provides oxygen for the animals. The grazers keep the algae in check, preventing it from overwhelming the pool. The predators control the populations of grazers and smaller creatures. The scavengers, like hermit crabs, are the cleanup crew. Hermit crabs are fascinating because they don't grow their own shells. Instead, they find empty snail shells and move in. As they grow, they must find a larger shell, leading to a constant housing market crisis. You can sometimes see them carefully inspecting potential new homes, or even fighting another hermit crab for a desirable shell. But this world is divided into zones. Life at the top of the rock pool in the splash zone is the toughest. Organisms here, like barnacles, spend most of their time out of the water. Barnacles are crustaceans related to crabs and lobsters that cement themselves to a rock for life. They have a hard outer shell that closes up tightly to prevent them from drying out. When the tide covers them, they open up and extend feathery legs to filter food from the water. Further down in the middle zone, you find the mussels, periwinkles, and anemones, which are covered and uncovered by the tide twice a day. And at the very bottom of the pool, in the subtidal zone that's almost always submerged, you'll find the most delicate creatures like sponges, sea slugs, and maybe even a starfish. Starfish, or sea stars, are formidable predators. They use their hundreds of tiny tube feet to slowly pry open the shells of mussels and clams. Then they do something incredible. They push their stomach out of their body and into the shell of their prey, digesting it externally before sucking the nutrients back in. It's a method of eating that's both bizarre and highly effective. The rock pool is also a nursery. Many species lay their eggs here, where the calm, sheltered water gives their offspring a better chance of survival. You might find gelatinous blobs of snail eggs stuck to seaweed, or the bright orange egg masses of a sea slug. It's a safe haven where the next generation can begin its life. However, these incredible ecosystems are fragile. They're highly sensitive to changes in their environment. Pollution, such as oil spills or chemical runoff, can be devastating. Even something as simple as sunscreen washing off a swimmer's hands can harm the delicate organisms. Climate change is another major threat. Rising sea temperatures can cause stress and bleaching in anemones, similar to what happens to coral reefs. So, how can we explore these worlds without harming them? It's all about being a responsible visitor. The golden rule is to leave it as you found it. If you turn over a rock to see what's underneath, gently place it back exactly as it was. The underside of that rock is a unique, dark, and damp habitat for many creatures that can't survive exposure to the sun and air. Use your eyes more than your hands. A magnifying glass can be a fantastic tool to see the tiny details of life without disturbing it. And be careful where you step. Those rocks are covered in living things. Try to walk on bare rock surfaces whenever possible. Remember, we are just temporary visitors in their permanent home. The next time you're by the sea, I encourage you to find a rocky shore and take the time to really look. Find a rock pool, sit quietly beside it, and just watch. Watch the drama unfold. And see the periwinkle on its slow journey, the crab peeking from its crevice, the anemone waiting patiently for its next meal. You'll witness a complete, complex world in a space you could cup in your hands. It's a powerful reminder that life, in all its resilience and beauty, exists everywhere, even in the smallest of places. The secrets of the rock pool are there for anyone patient enough to discover them. Thanks for joining me on this exploration of the miniature oceans hidden along our coasts. I hope you've enjoyed this deep dive. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more adventures into the natural world. Let me know in the comments if you've ever explored a rock pool and what amazing creatures you found. Till next time, stay curious.